Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Swapnil's Analysis, and I am Swapnil. Today we are going to discuss one of my favorite poem of William Wordsworth, that is Strange Fits of Passion Have I Known. This is of course a Lucy poem, and the most interesting fact about this poem is that this is the most anthologized Lucy poem of William Wordsworth after Lucy Gray. So why this poem is so anthologized and likewise so popular among the Wordsworth lovers in particular and the common readers in general is that because the poem is written in a very simple language. Second, the poem is about the passions of a lover who had some kind of unimaginary or who had uh, anticipated the death of his beloved, and when he started or when he embarked on his journey towards the house of his beloved, and when he reached there, his premonition become reality, means his fantasy become reality. And this is one of the prime incident of this poem. And as we all are aware of William Wordsworth, that he has written all his poems about his the things he has learned or came into contact in his one of the travels of the countryside of England. So many critics believe that this story might have been told to Wordsworth by some of the rustic man, and which attracted the attention of Wordsworth. And he, as he was a master, he wrote this poem, or he gave that simple idea a poetic thought, and this poem might have been born. Why? Because Lucy is a very mysterious character, and in every poem, Lucy has died. So, why Lucy is so important here? Because Lucy, first of all, was very beautiful. Second, she died at a very young age, means around in her early or mid 20s. So, according to Wordsworth, that a person, means his theory, as we have been discussing the Lucy poems, his theory probably seems that or indicates towards that a person who is beautiful and also who dies at a very young age deserves more attention. So Lucy here is a fictional character created by William Wordsworth, and the most common fact about Lucy that all the Lucys, they have died at a very young age, as we have discussed in Lucy Gray, where she dies at the age of 9 or 10. So therefore this poem, a lyrical ballad, a perfect embodiment of lyrical ballad, this poem is, and it is about an incident, about the lovers fantasies, lovers bad fantasies about his beloved. So the poem commences thus, that strange fits of passion have I known, and I will dare to tell, but in the lover's ear alone, what once to me befell. So here, this is not the present moment that he has been having some kind of a strange thoughts about his beloved, but what he is implying towards that strange fits of passion have I known, he had been having, not for couple of days but for couple of weeks, and he actually wanted to share his strange thoughts, strange attacks about what those strange thoughts are. He is not revealing yet, And what here is saying that I will dare to tell. He has gathered somehow some courage now to share his thoughts. Therefore, he is using I will dare to tell. I will not share, but I will dare to tell. How he has gathered courage because he knew what? Because all his thoughts like very strange. Therefore, strange fits of passion. They are very strange and they won't be understood by the common people, common public. Therefore, he puts a condition. And what is that condition? The condition is, but in the lover's ear alone. Only a lover he would understand or he could understand my feelings for my beloved, and therefore I will dare to tell to the lover, and that too in his ears. Means he would whisper, so that no other people, no other ordinary people who are not lover, they would not understand and they won't mock him. That was the condition. This is the very good technique I think Wordsworth had used in the first stanza of the poem to draw the attention of the leader, that now everyone pays attention. Okay, yes, I want to listen what the lover has to say. So here, now in the second stanza, he introduces us a female by using the pronoun she. This is the technique used by Wordsworth all his Lucy poem, that first he introduces a feminine character by using the pronoun she. When she I loved look every day, fresh as rose and June, I to her cottage bent my way beneath an evening moon. So what here is saying, he has introduced here about a she, a woman, that she was very strong, she was very young, fresh as rose in June means very young, strong, healthy. Means she died. Means how all the Lucys died, we do not know. The mystery of death of Lucy has been kept as a suspense, that no one knows how all the Lucys have died. So therefore he's saying that his beloved was young, she was hale and hearty, and suddenly although she died. Therefore the he started his journey towards the cottage of Lucy, that too in the evening beneath an evening moon. So moon and Lucy, there is a kind of a symbolic relationship in this poem. Upon the moon I fixed my eye, all over the wide lea, with quickening pace my horse drove nigh those paths so dear to me. So here what he's implying towards, the most important fact is that Lucy here is equated with the moon. He has fixed his eyes upon the moon implies towards the fact that he was constantly thinking about Lucy. Because Lucy was beautiful and so is the moon also is beautiful. So here he was constantly thinking about Lucy while he was galloping on his horse towards his destination, that is the cottage of the Lucy. And he was passing through by the wide moorland and sometimes through the farms. And his horse, he was also galloping or he was also running very fast. And therefore the last line of the third stanza also indicates towards some of the personal things of the beloved or the narrator here. Those paths so dear to me, means he wasn't going to meet Lucy for the first time, means his horse as well. He had gone to Lucy for ample of time. Therefore, he's saying that those paths so dear to me, means whatever is linked with Lucy is very close to my heart. That is, he is also implying towards his deepness of love with Lucy. Therefore, the paths so dear to me, the paths which leads to the cottage or house of Lucy or the village of Lucy. And now we reached the orchid plot, and as we climbed the hill, the sinking moon to Lucy's cot came nearer and nearer still. Here in the fourth stanza, he has given the name to that female character, Lucy. As he was passing through the orchid plot, means to the farmland, which is also an indication that now the Lucy's village or the Lucy's house is not far away, because the most important factor about or the fact about the villages are, first we come across the farmland and later we enter into the village. So we reach to the orchid plot means that now he has reached to the farmland, and very soon he would reach enter into the village of Lucy. So as the symbolic thing here, that as he was nearing the house of the Lucy, the simultaneously the moon was also descending behind the house of Lucy. This is a kind of a symbolic thing. Means the poem is revealing at this time that his thought he is revealing that once he had a very strange thought. What was that strange thought? The strange thought was that Lucy was going to die. And he had been having these fits, means he constantly had been having these thoughts of Lucy dying. So one day when it was unbearable for him, so he just started his journey towards his beloved's house, that is Lucy, whether just to verify whether Lucy was alive or dead. Therefore, this poem is all about. Now he has started his journey, and thus he was a kind of a superstitious person. So he kept his eye, means he fixed his eye on the moon, and he considered that as long as moon was there in the sky, my Lucy, she was alive. That was he had thought. This is the whole concept about his journey. Therefore, he says that upon the moon I fixed my eye. So he was a kind of a superstitious lover, wherein he thought that okay, as long as moon was there in the sky, my Lucy, she was alive. So as he was nearing the house of Lucy, the moon was also descending down, and that thing increased his heartbeats. That he's also trying to indicate here. In one of those sweet dreams I slept, kind nature's gentlest boon, and all the while my eyes I kept on the descending moon. So what here, now he is thinking about that fantasy. Therefore he is saying sweet dreams I slept, that he had imagined or he had fantasized about Lucy, that Lucy, she was going to die. And just to verify, he had started his journey, or he had embarked on the journey towards the house of Lucy, and thus he says that all the while my eyes I kept on the descending moon, because here moon symbolizes Lucy. As long as moon was there in the sky, Lucy was alive according to the belief or the superstitions of the lover. This is a very simple thing. My horse moved on, hoof after hoof, he raced and never stopped, because his horse had accompanied him in his past visit to the house of Lucy. Therefore, the horse knew the path very well. Therefore, he says that those paths are so dear to me. His horse was also aware of his destination. Therefore, as he realized that the house of Lucy wasn't far away, the horse increased his speed. Therefore, he says, my horse moved on, hoof after hoof, he raced and never stopped. That horse also realized, okay, now our destination is not far behind. When down behind the cottage roof, at once the bright moon dropped. So as they reached towards the cottage of Lucy, suddenly the moon disappeared from the sky. Since Since the beginning of his journey towards the cottage of Lucy, he had fixed or kept his eye on the moon, because what he had believed, because most times lovers do believe in such a way that okay, as long as this thing is there, nothing is going to happen. So in the same way, this lover has believed that as long as moon was there in the sky, my Lucy is alive. And suddenly, as he reached to the house of Lucy, the moon vanished somewhere. So we still do not know whether Lucy was dead or alive before his starting or before his embarking of the journey towards the house of Lucy. So we had no idea. So in the last stanza is very important here, that what fond and wayward thoughts will slide into a lover's head. Oh mercy, to myself I cried, if Lucy should be dead. So the moon disappeared, and what he had thought, as long as moon was there, my Lucy was alive. So in the same way, suddenly this wayward thought, because he has not entered into the house of Lucy yet, and suddenly he says, oh mercy, if Lucy should be dead. So here the lover himself doesn't know whether Lucy was dead or alive. So here the thing about that Lucy, she was dead. He had that premonition that okay, Lucy was going to die. He started his journey, and when he reached to the house of Lucy, his premonition became reality, and Lucy, he found Lucy was long dead. Means he did not reach to the Lucy's house while Lucy's dead body was lying in the coffin. Lucy had died. Lucy might have died couple of days back or couple of weeks back, and because his love was too deeper for Lucy, he somehow had this premonition, these fantasies about the life of Lucy, and just to verify these fantasies and his premonition, he embarked on the journey towards the house of Lucy. And when he reached to the house of Lucy, he found okay, Lucy was actually, in reality, she did. Therefore, the poem very aptly titled as Strange Fits of Passion Have I Known, because most of the times in the real life too, that most of the lovers, they are very concerned about the life of their beloved. They are very concerned about losing their beloved, be it a man or be it a woman. So this lover is no exception to this fact, and Wordsworth, as he's a great master, that he has given a very good poetic thought to a very small incident. So what do you think about the current poem which we have discussed about Wordsworth? This is our third poem of Lucy series. If you have something to say, please write in the comment section, and if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe to my channel so that I'll be able to reach towards larger population, and we'll discuss about literature in a more healthier way. Thanks for watching.